His brilliant idea was worth millions. He let it rot in the drafts folder on his desktop. The folder was a digital tombstone, and every time Alex's mouse hovered over it, he felt the cold chill of his own potential. The idea was called Mind Garden, a revolutionary app that visualized a user's mental habits as a garden. Meditate, and a stream would flow. Procrastinate, and weeds would grow. It was beautiful, intuitive, and, according to his best friend Mark, a guaranteed unicorn. But for 2 years, the seeds of that garden remained locked in a document, unplanted. This morning, a notification flashed on his screen, an invitation to the Innovate West Tech Conference. A keynote speaker had dropped out, opening up a few last-minute slots for a lightning round of new pitches. The deadline was tomorrow. Mark's text came a second later. "This is it, man. No more excuses. Submit the pitch deck. I'll even help you with the slides." Alex's stomach twisted. This was the antagonist he faced every day, not a person, but a moment. The moment where thought had to become action. He opened the Mind Garden folder, the files staring back at him like neglected children. He could almost feel the weight of the code he had not written, the business plan he had not finalized. He spent the next hour not building the pitch deck, but refining a single, insignificant line of code from a year-old prototype. It was a familiar ritual of fake productivity, a way to touch his dream without taking the risk of actually pursuing it. The choice was not just about the conference. It was about exposing his fragile, perfect idea to the harsh light of reality. What if they laughed? What if they said it was stupid? In the drafts folder, it was still perfect. It was still worth millions. To act was to risk discovering it was worthless. As the sun began to set, he leaned back, exhausted by his own inaction, ready to text Mark another excuse. Then his phone buzzed with a new email. The subject line read, "Congratulations. Your Innovate West lightning round submission." Alex's blood ran cold. He opened it to find a confirmation for Alex Carter, creator of Mind Garden. A final text from Mark sealed his fate. "I submitted the old summary you sent me last year. You re-in. All you have to do is show up. Do not make me look like an idiot." Panic was a tidal wave. Being forced into the arena was infinitely worse than choosing to enter it. Alex spent a sleepless night throwing together a haphazard presentation, fueled by resentment and cheap energy drinks. He arrived at the conference late, his shirt wrinkled, his mind a fog of self-pity. The air crackled with ambition, a currency he had hoarded but never spent. Backstage, he watched other presenters, sharp and confident, their pitches flowing like poetry. He felt like an imposter. When they called his name, a wave of nausea hit him. On stage, under the blinding lights, his carefully constructed facade crumbled. His laptop refused to connect to the projector for a full, agonizing minute. When the first slide finally appeared, a blurry, pixelated logo he de-designed in a fit of late-night inspiration, he heard a few people in the audience chuckle. He started to speak, but his voice was a weak, stammering thing. He raced through the concept of Mind Garden, the words tumbling out in a disorganized mess. He saw the investors in the front row, their faces impassive. One was scrolling through his phone. Another was whispering to his neighbor. When he finished, there was a polite, lukewarm applause. A woman in the front row raised her hand. "What's your user acquisition and monetization strategy?" It was a basic question. He had a dozen answers written down in his business plan, sitting in the drafts folder. But on stage, his mind was a blank slate. He mumbled something about freemium models and organic growth, his voice trailing off. He knew he sounded like a fool. He walked off the stage before anyone could ask another question, his face burning with a shame so intense it felt physical. As he fled towards the exit, he overheard two men in suits talking by the water cooler. That mind garden concept had legs, one said. Shame the kid presenting was a complete train wreck. Someone else should build that. Properly. 3. The humiliation of the conference sent Alex into a spiral. He ignored Mark's calls. He spent weeks in a haze of video games and takeout, the drafts folder on his desktop now feeling radioactive. He had not only failed, he had advertised his brilliant idea to a room full of people far more capable of building it than he was. He was a ghost haunting his own life, watching the world move on without him. One rainy Tuesday, Mark showed up at his door, refusing to be ignored any longer. He did not say, "I told you so." He just held out his phone. "You need to see this," he said, his voice flat. It was an article from a major tech journal. The headline read, Wellness app Flourish secures $5 million in seed funding, aims to revolutionize mental health. Alex stared at the screenshots. A beautiful, animated garden grew on the screen. Users were rewarded for positive habits with flowing streams and blooming flowers. It was Mind Garden. Polished, funded, and real. It was his soul, stolen and sold. A surge of white-hot rage burned through his apathy. "They stole it," he whispered, the words trembling. That investor from the conference, he must have taken the idea. For a fleeting moment, he felt a strange sense of relief. He was not a failure. He was a victim. He could fight this. "No, Alex," Mark said, his face etched with guilt. "They did not steal it from the conference." He took a deep breath. "A year ago, before the conference. I was so frustrated you were sitting on this. I showed the original business plan to a former colleague, a guy I trusted, just to get some feedback. He worked at a big firm then." Alex stared at him, uncomprehending. "The feedback?" Mark continued, unable to meet his eyes. It was not mixed. He was blown away. "He told me it was the best idea he'd ever seen." He quit his job 3 months later to found Flourish. The truth landed like a physical blow. The world had not robbed him. He had not been betrayed by a stranger. His own inaction had loaded the gun, and his best friend, in a desperate attempt to help, had pulled the trigger. He was not a victim. He was a volunteer. He had delivered his dream, gift-wrapped, into the hands of his successor. For rock bottom was not a place of fire and fury, it was a quiet, empty room where the only sound was the hum of a computer. Alex sat in front of his monitor, his face illuminated by the screen. He was going to delete it all. The code, the business plan, the mock-ups. He would wipe the slate clean, erase the monument to his failure. He right-clicked on the drafts folder, his finger hovering over the delete button. And then, he saw it. A small piece of metadata in the corner of the properties window, date created, October 23, 2019. 4 years. Not 2. He had been letting this dream die for 4 years. The number struck him with more force than any betrayal. An entire chapter of his life, sacrificed at the altar of tomorrow. The enemy was not the CEO of Flourish. It was not even Mark. It was the warm, seductive comfort of the drafts folder, the place where potential never had to face the possibility of failure. It was a prison he had built for himself, and he had been its most willing inmate. He did not delete the folder. Instead, with a strange, newfound calm, he moved his cursor and created a new document on the desktop. It was blank. He typed a single sentence, a simple browser extension that locks you out of social media after 10 minutes. It was a tiny idea. A stupid idea, maybe. It was not worth millions. It probably was not worth $10. He titled the document Day 1. Then he began to code. He worked for an hour, then 2. The code was messy, inefficient, and ugly. But it worked. At 3 a.m., he uploaded the raw, buggy, deeply imperfect file to a public forum for developers. He wrote a short post, "It's not pretty, and it probably has a dozen bugs, but it's here. My first step." He clicked Submit. He stared at his desktop. The old Mind Garden folder sat there, a ghost of a past life. Next to it was a new folder named Projects, containing one single, tiny file. The millions were gone. The dream was dead. But for the first time in a very long time, nothing was rotting.